I'm so sorry. Couldn't help it. I got late today on the internet. Hey y'all, it is March the 11th, I believe. Nah, it ain't. It ain't that. I'm already lying to you, and I'm late. And I don't apologize for either one of those things. It's March the 12th, 2024. I just wanted to have a brief broadcast right now today. I real brief one, and I do believe I want to have an extended broadcast on Thursday night. I want to actually skip tomorrow night. All right, I'll give y'all this to give y'all a heads up. All right, so you already know what's the deal. Skipping on Wednesday, gonna do it on Thursday. Expensive. We'll have a little bit more time. But in the meantime, stuff has come up. So I thought I would talk about it. Right, for example, stuff in the news. For example, mm, Andrew Tate is in the news today, and well, he's probably all over the news on yesterday as well. Shout out to whoever's in the building. I don't know if they heard of Andrew Tate. We're having a. I know you probably heard of Andrew Tate from me. So shout out to Andrew Tate out there. He's in the headlines. He's in the news right now today. And well, let me just go ahead and read a couple of the headlines in case you don't know. There's supposedly people up in the building. If you're up in the building, holla at me. But in the meantime, I just want really briefly wanted to read these headlines. Some 6 hours old, 13 hours old. We're talking about breaking news. Have you heard? Everybody, have you heard? Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate as well. Uh, I heard from them earlier. It's kind of odd, and it is kind of odd that Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are treated very much like only one person, like they're one commodity, and even when they get arrested together. It doesn't make sense, but it happens. It keeps happening. So let me read a couple of these headlines. Controversial, if you haven't heard about it, controversial influencer Andrew Tate will be extradited to the UK after Romania trial. I would like to stress that um, none of these headlines are necessarily true at all. And in fact, they're all wild speculation. In fact, they could be all whimsical fever dreams of some crack piping, dope smoking hippie in Seattle or something somewhere. Like it could be a robot with robot AI technology, putting together algorithms, putting together headlines of gobbledygook, such as the Washington Post. Like they said, Andrew Tate and brother Tristan Tate arrested in Romania under UK warrant. And I imagine that most of the headlines, although I have not run through them yet myself, I would imagine that they're all pretty similar to that. Basically explaining that Andrew Tate, like I said, his brother Tristan Tate, have both been arrested quite recently in Romania, mind you, under a UK warrant, if you haven't heard about it. So you're getting an idea of what allegedly had happened. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan can be extradited to the UK. Romanian court rules. That's from the BBC. So you see how they're in agreement here. And then you got other stuff too, like Kotaku, Kotaku publication. You never ever heard of it. It says Andrew Tate arrested after Aiden Ross blabs his escape plan. Mind you, I don't know all the details, right? I'm not really in the Andrew Tate cult like a lot of people might think I'm in an Andrew Tate cult. I don't really know all the details going on right here. Um, all right, Andrew Tate, exactly what exactly had gone down? I don't know. All right, but it is just overall kind of odd, an odd situation. All right, like he's in Romania. They're saying that he got detained in Romania, and him and his brother. This is on behalf of the UK. So, anyways, I started reading these headlines while I was on break from work, and so later on, I kind of like looked into it a little bit further. Still don't know too much, but it seems as though, and by the way, Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan Tate are in fact out of jail. All right. And wouldn't you know it, if you just type in Andrew Tate, of course, on Google, there is not going to be any news about him posting bail necessarily. And of course, the headlines certainly won't put that. They're talking about him getting arrested. Right. And so, if I were to take Andrew Tate's word, and I'm sure there's all sort of documentation on his whereabouts, it would seem that Andrew Tate has not been in the UK for about 10 years. Like, just to explain the situation as I understand it objectively, this is what I understand about it, and it could be misinformation. I don't know. Is that Andrew Tate was detained in Romania on behalf of the UK, and these are for charges from the UK. And it was back, way, way back, way, way, way back to 2012 or something like that. Like, it's kind of vague. They don't really say. They say kind of around 2012, perhaps. Some bad stuff. Andrew Tate did some bad stuff. All right. That's basically what happens. All right. So just recently, because Andrew Tate was accused of something way back in 2012, it was allegedly researched and investigated by the police, and it was found to be um, not credible information accusing Andrew Tate of such um, allegations of the sexual manner. All right, if we could say so. I mean, I just don't know how else to say of the sexual manner. All right. This particular incident has been talked about, and I've even heard about this particular incident a number of times explained on the internet well before what the hell is outside? It's maybe a raccoon outside. But all right, anyways. So long story short, the UK, after well over a decade, charges Andrew Tate at seemingly a very, very random time. Seemingly a very, very random time. Way, 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 way long ago. Apparently, it was allegations that were followed up on. It turned out to be nothing at all. And so now, fast forward 12 some odd years. And the UK is like, hey, why don't you arrest Andrew Tate? You should arrest him so that we can whatever. Because so maybe we'll charge him. We'll think about charging him. We got this thing over here, and so if you arrest him, that'd be great. Basically, in layman's terms, that's what I understand had happened. Now, as I said, I've already I've already seen and found out that both the Tates, Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, have been out of jail. They're already out of jail. They've been out of jail. And they were able to, I don't know, bond out or just get out of jail. And the reason reportedly is some judge was overlooking, the paperwork, the this and that, the request from the UK government. She said, we're not gonna put these guys in jail. Basically, it's like you don't have no can't really put them in jail until like you start like charging them with stuff and haven't charged them with nothing. And so it's all very odd. All right. And so a lot of people were talking about that today. And I don't know what else people were talking about. Probably a lot of chaos and malarkey nonsense. All right. But I wanted to bring that up specifically, the Andrew Tate thing. Okay. Now I'm gonna get into the personal, the meat and potatoes. Well, this is why I brought you here. I What happened to me recently, and it's happened to me a number of times, but it happened to me again recently, in which I found myself in casual conversation, you know, just trying to have some of that banter, some of that witty banter. Found myself in that kind of a situation the other day, right? And just like it's been quite a number of times, I can't tell you how many times in my life, especially recently. I mean, somehow or other, it comes up in the conversation that I might be misogynist or something. Misogynist. Misogynist, buddy. So, you think you might be misogynist because your ideas? You think you might be misogynist? That's what they asked me. And then I asked them, these people who asked me in this conversation, this casual conversation that we're having, I asked them, say, hey, do you even know what misogyny is? Like, do you know what it means? Do you have any idea what it means? And hit or miss. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. They're like, I mean, basically, I would imagine most people who understand it, they understand it to be some sort of hatred or maybe even just disdain for women. And I stopped and I asked them to think about it real quick. And I asked them, do you really think that I hate women? First of all, I told them, I love women, all right? And I love them more than you do, or I love them more than everybody else, all right? And I let them know that. And then I say, do you know what misogyny means? They say, well, hatred, disdain for women. That's what's really crazy. In my mind, I really just can't get past it. Because imagine, see, first of all, to this day, I don't know if I've ever met a misogynist, a man or a lady misogynist. I really don't know that I ever met one because I never met one that admits it. Or no one's ever flat out told me, listen, I hate women and I have a deep disdain for them at all times. And then I would say to them, well, do you believe that perhaps you're a misogynist? And they would say, yeah, I truly identify with I'm a total misogynist. I have total disdain for all women, no matter what. And that's never happened to me, man. I've never met one ever in my life. So I thought, um, it doesn't make any sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense. If I were to say I love women, and then you turn around and you say to me, I think you're a misogynist for your ideas. But to me, it's just I don't know if people live in such a cowardly world. They must live in such a cowardly and deceptive world. These people everywhere, all right? Because I'm not a misogynist, right? But let's say I was a misogynist. Why would I have such trouble publicly admitting that I am a misogynist? Can you tell me that? If I'm such a big bolstering, you know, like like a feverish misogynist, wouldn't I want to brag about it too as well? Or wouldn't I be open about it? Wouldn't I be like, hell yeah, I'm a misogynist? Aren't you misogynist? We hate women. They need to just make our sandwiches. Shut up, women. We hate them. Yeah, we're misogynists. Let's go to the misogynist club and hang out. It's like none of this has ever existed. It's freaking me out. I mean, I understand that there could very well be white supremacists out there. I understand that somewhere in America, because there's a lot of America, there might be groups of white people that get together and they celebrate their whiteness and they encourage people to remain staying be white and continue to be white. All right, and if they do that, God bless them. That's awesome. I hope they make a lot of white babies. All right, but as far as these white supremacists, like I've met people who said rhetoric a little bit, but I don't know if I ever really met a full fledged white supremacist. I don't think you've ever met a full fledged, all out totally dedicated white supremacist. It's like if you are a supremacist, of course you're gonna be dedicated to that. You're not even gonna budge on that. Let's say you were Jewish or something. Let's say you have special Jewish blood and you got a blood thing going. You got special blood. You're God's people because of your blood, stuff like that. You say you're supreme. You can brag about it. It's like, yes, I got the supreme blood. Y'all got dirty animal blood over there. You're just blood. Your blood's not good enough, and I'm bragging about it. See, that's supreme to me. That's what's supreme. If you're gonna be supreme, you should be prepared to brag about it. All right. So I was talking with these, let's say a couple fellas. Let's say a couple mysterious fellas. Pause. I was talking with them. And somehow or another, they got the idea. And when they get this idea, you can never really talk them out of it. Trust me, I've had this conversation before. Or they'll be like, I believe you're a misogynist, sir. And then, of course, like I said, I'll ask them what it is. I'll explain to them I'm absolutely not. I love women. I'll start explaining the different ways in which I love women. It's never ever good enough. Right? It's always this and that. Well, it's always basically a conversation, and the conversation is going downhill by the time the word misogynist hits the conversation. It's kind of going downhill from there, whether you like it or not, man. Here's what I gotta explain, and not to blame these two fellas or any other fellas. Those are out there doing whatever it is that they gotta do. Trust me, I know. Um, Towards the end of the conversation, or somewhere towards the end. One of the fellas, I forget, he says something to the extent of, like, see, this is why you don't have a girlfriend. All right. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that before, but I wanted to focus on that specific statement. And sometimes it comes in the form of a question. Like, if people don't know, they'll ask you, do you even have a girlfriend? Or they'll say, "See, this is why you don't have a girlfriend." And you know what's interesting is that being truly objective about the conversation, it's non sequitur. I didn't bring up whether or not I had a girlfriend at all. And it wasn't part of the conversation. We're just talking about ideas. You know, you said I hate women, and I say I don't hate women. And then, somewhere on down the line, you say, "Oh, see, this is probably why you don't have a girlfriend." So it could be seen from the outside looking in. That could be seen as a little bit of a jab, not a real big deal. It's not something to get upset about, but it's a little bit maybe a jab or whatnot. Someone could perceive it that way. But the thing about it is, and people don't have to believe me at all. I don't know why someone's listening to me, anyways. If they're listening to me, you're the one listening. I might remind you. But so, so I'm not a misogynist, and they say, "Well, would this why you don't have a girlfriend because your idea?" And what they don't realize is that I've personally seen, I don't know how many, 50, I don't know, 50 over time, over and over again, maybe 100 particular times in which a woman, mind you, a woman used that rhetoric in a debate or a discussion or an argument or something. I've seen them do it, and I've seen them do it over and over and over and over and over and over again to the point where it was funny. It's funny to think about it because lots of times in a conversation of like say contradicting ideals and people have different preferences in which how they feel men and women should mingle together, if you will. Right? Sometimes some people will say an idea talking about men and women, and it's a perfectly fine idea in their head, and then others will assume that you hate women. Right? Or at least that's what they'll say to you. And then they'll say, "See, that's why you don't got a girlfriend." They don't realize that that's what a woman says. And if I were to say, "Listen, that's what a woman would say," they would say, "Oh, you're just mad because you don't have a girlfriend." It's like, yes, I know that's what a woman says. "Oh, I bet you wish you had a girlfriend." No, I never said I did wish I had a girlfriend. I never implied that. And they'd be like, "Oh, see, you couldn't get one because you're a misogynist." And it's like, as I'm painting a picture for you, as you can see, and as a lot of people have had this experience, it's just a circle. It doesn't go anywhere. It never ever goes anywhere. Right. And as we've been talking about, especially recently, it's due completely and entirely to two concepts, two lifestyles, two ways of thinking, and two ways of being. And it's a very, very, very real delineation between, as we've stated before, red pill guys and what's called blue pill guys. As far as the matrix, as far as men and women dynamics, because you could say the red pill, the blue pill, the matrix, in consideration for the world and the reality we face and technology and AI and blah blah blah, wars all over the place. Yeah, you could be red pill, blue pill about that in particular. World current events and stuff like that. The end of days, as we talk about, you could be red pilled or blue pilled about that. But we're talking specifically about the category of male and female relationships, dynamics. And the conclusion that I've come to even before, but now it's really gonna have to stick. All right. And we don't have much time, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Is that unfortunately, here's the thing, blue pill guys, they're everywhere. It's most of them, most of the guys who I meet. Blue pill guys. And you're talking about little dorks, little dweebs, all the way up until big, strong. You find the biggest muscular guys out there, just freaks of nature and stuff, and even they'll be blue pilled. All right. Just because they're big and get all the ladies doesn't exactly give them what would be a red pill mindset as far as male female dynamics. And it's all very complex, right? I don't expect you to know what the hell I'm talking about right now, but some people do. There's some men out there who already kind of like understand the concept that there's some men that are slipping and tripping and they don't understand the nature of women. These men out here running around and lots of times they're chasing women, but they're not chasing women. They're like pining after a woman and wishing, just wishing in their pillow at night, like that they could like get access to some woman somewhere, right? And then like hoping that he meets the perfect woman. Y'all know people like this out here, right? You're hoping that they meet the perfect woman, and that woman will just be perfect when he meets her, and they'll be like perfect together, and they're gonna be like soulmates and stuff like that. They're gonna live happily ever after if I could just meet her and stuff. And it's a very desperate situation. I'm sure it's always been throughout time. That kind of a mindset, that blue pill mindset. But the blue pill mindset is a brainwashing, and it's taken over, especially recently in society. I don't know all throughout history, red pill, blue pill, how it's been going. I do understand that probably ever since the Wild West days, probably ever since the dang Pilgrim days, as far as American history, as far as like the Pilgrim days to perhaps the 1960s or whenever free love started happening, right? It seems to me that most men were automatically red pilled. They just lived in a real world. They had to be red pilled. It just, I mean, there's very few men out there who is blue pilled out there. But now, as you can notice in this world that we're living in, this environment in 2020, 2024, is that um, most of these men blue pilled but show, all right, desperately, hopelessly blue pilled. They can't snap out of it. That's what's interesting. As a person who, we're all probably striving to grasp, to fully grasp and grasp more. When you first find out about the red pill and when it concerns for male female dynamics, it's always, I don't know if it's always, but I would imagine that it's most times a very jarring experience, or at least it was inspired by a jarring experience. Like, for example, you might have a bad experience with a lady in which who you were trying to deal with, for example, and then you might come across some content on the internet in which some random guy will explain exactly what was your problem. I mean, he'll describe it for you so that you know that he knows exactly what problem you were just dealing with, and he'll explain this and that, and he'll give you some insight. He'll offer some insight for free on the internet, and it's up to you to discern whether or not it's good advice, it's good insight, right? And for many, many men doing this, building like an environment on the internet in which there's men out there bringing it back. The reality of because the brainwashing took place, the mad brainwashing took place. And it's caused like all these men out here to be crazy blue pilled, and you can't snap them out of it. So, you know, we're a lot of us are seeing on the internet, and especially in real life, just to the extent of what um, blue pill mentality can do. It's devastating. Like, for example, men are physically weaker. Just speaking in general, and this is all across the board. Men are physically weaker and stuff like that. And then, of course, women out there are feeling very insecure. That's terrible. I gotta wrap it up real quick because I plan to wake up early tomorrow. I'm already feeling pretty dang sleepy, as you can tell. But as as we were talking all this gobbledygook, you might wonder why. I don't know if like I'm making any sense right now, but we're headed. We're already in a journey. Let's say, and it's of us as individuals. So I couldn't dare like predict what will happen for you as an individual on our journey into the future. And I couldn't predict myself either. I'm not a time future teller, right? But I can tell you that it's quite obvious that we're in the end of days for many, 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 many reasons, to not even including that Andrew Tate and his brother keep getting arrested for no good reason. Those same people who would call me a misogynist, who would say, oh, maybe that's why you don't have a girlfriend, those people who would have that sort of rhetoric are, I know for a fact, the same people, the same kind of people, men, mind you, who would come up to me and would ask me quite naturally, hey, what's up with your boy Andrew Tate? I heard he got arrested again. I've heard I've heard this many times from people. And it was quite interesting. If you don't know who Andrew Tate is, you wouldn't know that he was going to get arrested or that he's gotten arrested, or you wouldn't know anything about it. There's people out there who don't know who Andrew Tate is, and that's well enough. It's like you don't have to know who Andrew Tate is. There's some people out there who do know who Andrew Tate is. Mind you, I've brought up Andrew Tate before, lots of times, just in casual conversation. So later on, these people who know who Andrew Tate is know that I have spoken about him before. They always come up to me and say, "Oh, what happened to your boy Andrew Tate? I remember you were like, oh, Andrew Tate, and oh, you said Andrew Tate said something right. Oh, Andrew Tate, you said he was doing something good." They'll come at me like that, bro. Every time. I'm telling you, they will. Oh, Andrew Tate, he got arrested again. That means he did something right. Like, he did something. He's always Andrew Tate. He does stuff. That's why he's such a jerk. Oh yeah, yeah. All these. Oh, you're gonna follow this guy? Oh, what? You're in a cult? You're in his cult? Oh, what? You believe him? He's out there doing all these bad things to women. They'll go on like that, and I know full well that they'll go on like that. That's the thing. I have actual experience of them going on like that. And I step back and I realize soberly to myself that I've seen them say these things. They're going to say these things. This is what they think. And there ain't nothing I can do to change that. In fact, typically, it seems man either need to or choose to learn shit the hard way, right? And they ain't gonna learn it from me. They're gonna learn it at the hands of ladies who are much, much more cunning than them, right? I don't have to do nothing for these ladies to run circles around these blue pilled men and suck all the life out these blue pilled men. They're gonna get sucked dry and not in a good way before it's all said and done because of their blue pilled nature, right? Their situations are only going to get more desperate and more despicable as we go on. These blue pill men. It's unfortunate. It's very rare, I'm finding, and I found it out before. I'm only finding it out more, especially on the internet. Quite rare that men anywhere have some sort of red pill awareness. And it's not on me, it's actually ignorance on my part, right? And I'm actually ashamed. So we get up out of here. There might have been someone in the room. I don't know. So I bid you adieu. But the thing is, I'm kind of ashamed myself, but you got to learn a lesson at a certain point. And that lesson is quite simply, throughout time, it seems as though men have always had banter with each other, talking with each other at the work site, at the food site, at the whatever, wherever they happen to be at, where they were buying cigarettes. They would talk to each other, typically about the weather or some bullshit like that. All right, but if they kept being around each other, casually, maybe at work or something like that, seeing them, they would eventually, inevitably, talk about women, right? And believe it or not, back in the days that I'm thinking about, most of the men liked women, believe it or not. So, but they would talk about women. They've always been talking about women. All right, that's just what you feel natural to do. It's like your natural inclination. Talk about. They like to talk about sports. So you already know what they like to talk about. All right, women being a very big, especially you get to know people. It's not something maybe you would talk to them the first time or second time or third time you meet them, but working every day, seeing their faces so much, perhaps you would talk to them about it. The moral of the story tonight is I ain't talking to no man about nothing, dude. I'll talk to you about everything else, but not women ever. To the point where these men out here, they can think whatever they want. It doesn't matter what a man thinks at all, but they can think whatever they want. And certainly they might think some crazy stuff. I'm a wild guy and I do weird, wild things. And I just can't help it, it seems. I'm turning it up to 11, but even before then, it was odd. They might look at me and say, well, Gerard, first of all, he's a little bit too happy. And secondly, he's a little bit too jacked, all right? We just don't trust that. Looks like he exercises and stuff, man. We don't like that. Gerard, what's up, Gerard? What's up with Gerard? He never, ever even mentions women. It says though women do not exist or something when Gerard comes around. Isn't that odd? Yeah, it's gonna be odd, but that's how I'm gonna keep it, buddy. Real odd. Real odd. Because I realize, and they already know who they are, and this might be like one or two-ish people who on Earth, like who I can physically see, who could even begin to tolerate a little bit of that red pill rhetoric, even. All right, and it's incumbent upon myself to have some sort of prudence, to have some sort of like awareness, and to have some sort of put some barriers up, and do not never ever even ever talk about women, right? And as we get up out of here, that might seem kind of scary. In a sense, yeah, it is scary. I'm just trying to get away from these men out here, these blue pill men out here. You can't trust them because at the end of the day, they are going to wind up selling you out somehow or some way. And meanwhile, you can never ever do anything to convince them that you're not a misogynist and that you don't hate women. All right, so it's a dangerous minefield. Like I can go on the internet, or anybody who has some sort of ideas and they want to share them, they can go on the internet and share those ideas. But when they're in real life, walking around, going to their real jobs, and maybe people won't even have real jobs soon. But when they're going around seeing actual people in 3D, if you should already know. If I'm not here to suggest what you do, but um, I feel like a lot of people are going to start keeping this a secret to themselves. And for example, maybe they'll leave like a little tiny clue, like they'll throw out a little clue, and then there'll be someone else who's red pill. Like I'll hear them throw out a little clue that they're red pilled in the workplace, and then I'll whisper something like, "Women," I'll be like, "Women shouldn't get to vote, right?" And and that person will be like, "Yeah, no, of course not. Of course they shouldn't." And we'd be whispering it, even though maybe still the cell phones will be hearing us, and who knows China, who knows the NSA, maybe they'll be listening, and we'll be like, oh yeah, women, um, they're dirty, right? Anyways, I don't want to make fun of women, right? We've been here too long. I've been here way too long, right? And truth be told, most of the stuff that I meant to bring up and mention, I totally forgot, right? We're gonna have a more comprehensive, a more intelligible broadcast on Thursday, I promise. And I already know that on part of the broadcast, I want to talk about something, in furtherance of what we talked about tonight. I'm not a misogynist. Okay. I have no sort of hatred towards any human being, to include, and especially the ladies out there, especially the ladies. Yeah, I call them evil, but I don't call them bad. I just say that they're evil. That's not a terrible thing, but they're kind of evil. I would like to say tonight, and we're going to talk about it more later. Um, I don't hate them. I get accused of hating them. I never imply that I hate them. I never joke about hating them. I never accidentally said I hate them. Um, so that should be that, but it isn't that. People will never even accept that either. Right? There's nothing I could do about it. I don't think there's nothing you could do about it. But also, let me also say, there's plenty of women out there who know who they are. I'm not accusing anybody. There's plenty of women out there who like to get choked. Okay, I'm being very serious. Like to get choked, like in a romantic setting, if you will. They like to get choked. All right, so that's a very red pill, blue pill factoid. You could say that I made that up. All right, I wish I made it up. You could just think that I did make it up. All right, in that case, I have a wild imagination. but a certain percentage of women out there like to get choked, right? When in intimate setting. I want to say, because I'm very sleepy, gotta get up out of here, that I've never ever choked a woman. Never ever have I ever choked a woman, and that I can promise you, that's never ever happened. And it also will never ever happen. I don't care how much they like it. Trust me, they're out there and they do like it, and I keep hearing about how much they like it being choked. I I don't. I'm putting my damn foot down, and it will never ever happen. And I'll explain why later. I'll explain why. We're going to talk about it a lot. All right, in great detail. But know this and hear me loud. I have never ever done that. Nobody's ever accused me of that to this day. And if they start accusing me of that now, then oh yeah, some magic accusations popping up. Nobody to this day has ever accused me of that. I've never done that, and I will never do that. I don't care how much the girl might want it, and she might want it a lot. They're out there and they're wanting it. And think about that. Think about that real quick. Isn't that a mind F? That's not good. We're going to talk about it later, but a lot of these ladies like to get choked. Okay? I don't care how many of them like to get choked. I'm never going to choke them, never have choked them, never will choke them. And this is coming from a supposed misogynist. And some people are out there, they're choking these ladies. And I'm supposedly the misogynist. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later. It's March the 12th, 2020, 2024.